I'm so excited to share a card project featuring the brand new Days of Summer StampTV kit being released this Thursday. The stamp set that I'm going to feature for today's technique is the You're the Sweetest mini stamp set, full of all kinds of fresh summer fruit and super sweet greetings. Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need to do this project. First, you're going to need some ink pads, and I'm using the Gina K Designs Grass Green along with the Gina K Designs Fresh Asparagus. You're also going to need a black ink, and I'm going to use our Gina K Designs Black Onyx. You'll need some ribbon, and I'm using some of the 3/8 of an inch black gingham ribbon that comes with the new kit. You're going to need some cardstock, and I have a grass green card base here, and then I have a piece of black onyx, and layered on top is a piece of the new pattern paper from the new kit, and the pattern paper pack is called Summer Brights. And then I have a couple other small pieces of cardstock, white cardstock and black onyx cardstock. Then I have two of the stamps from the You're the Sweetest mini stamp set. And then I have some adhesive and scissors. And I grabbed two items that aren't in the kit, and you can use just some basic sewing thread or a little bit of twine. I'm using some of the We Are Memory Keepers red and white twine, baker's twine. And then I have a red hot button. So the technique I'm going to show you today is called rock and roll. And this technique is perfect for any kind of chunky stamp, and especially a stamp that's a little bit round. So in this case, this stamp is perfect. You're going to need two coordinating colors, one that's a little bit lighter and one that's a little bit darker. And that's why I've chosen the grass green and the fresh asparagus ink. They work very well together for this technique. Now, this particular stamp can be a couple of different fruits, but for my card, we're going to make limes. So I'm going to start by inking up the stamp with some grass green. I want to ink it up real well and get that stamp nice and inky. And then I'm going to take that same stamp and I'm going to rotate it. I'm not going to lay it flat down on the ink pad. I'm going to rotate it so that just the darker ink is going around the perimeter. So let me show you what that looks like here. So I inked that up, and now I'm going to take the stamp and just rest it on one little edge and go right around a couple times. And then I'm going to stamp that right in the center here. And you can see that gave me a lighter green in the center and then a darker green on the edge. Now, if you want to be a little bit more watercolory with it, then what you can do is you can ink it up real well and then tilt it a little bit flatter so a little bit more of the stamp is getting inky with that darker ink, and then stamp that. And you can see some of that ink traveled then to the inside, and it gives it more of a stippled look, more of a kind of a watercolory look. So I'm going to finish stamping these, and you'll notice that I stamp off before I stamp the next one to make sure that the stamp is clean, because I don't want that darker ink, so I just kind of rub it off on my scrap piece of paper. Of course, if you have a stamp cleaner, you can use that instead, but I don't want my darker ink to transfer to my lighter ink pad. So you can see how these are shaded really, really nice. Do a couple more here. One there. And then go around again. Okay, and then I'm going to put just a little edge here and a little edge here, so I can just ink a little bit of it there. I didn't get that inked enough. Let me do that one more time. There we go. So it's just a little bit there. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. go, a little bit there. And then if you wanted to add a little bit on the edges, you certainly can. It's up to you. You can space them out any way you want for your card project. So that is the rock and roll technique, a really neat way to shade your chunky stamps. Now I'm going to add a greeting, so I'm going to use my black onyx ink pad and this little greeting. And I have a little piece of white cardstock here that I'm going to work on. And this is going to be a greeting that says, "You're the sweetest." So I've lined that greeting up onto the line on my block so I can stamp it straight. I'm going to just ink that up with the black ink pad. And I'm going to stamp it right along the bottom. Like that. "You're the sweetest." There we go. And now I'm going to assemble this card. This card is very easy to assemble. What I've already done, I showed you earlier, was I took a piece of this red checked looks kind of like a picnic tablecloth patterned paper onto this piece of black onyx cardstock. And I wanted to give this whole thing kind of a picnicky summer feel. So that's already assembled. Now I'm going to assemble these two pieces together. I have my strip of limes, and I'm going to put that also onto a piece of black onyx. And just that little 1/8 of an inch edge showing is so nice. So there we go. There's that little strip. And now this little piece, I have a layer for that as well with a little 1/8 of an inch edge. And you can see I have a lot of excess up here, but that's okay. You don't have to cut that away or anything. That whole panel is going to get adhered to this panel underneath, and I'll show you that in just a second. And we'll adhere these two together. There we go. Nice little edge showing. And now this piece is going to just go under here like that, and you can position it wherever you want. You could put it in the middle, you could put it off to the side, you could put it on the other side. If this is a tall card, you can have it sticking out the side that way. It's totally up to you how you want it to look. So I'm just going to stick mine. Actually, I want to stick it on to the other side, but that's okay because I'll use that tape. There we go. Make sure it looks straight. And there is my greeting. And this whole panel is going to lay on top of this little checked pattern paper. But before I do that, I'm going to add a little ribbon element, and I'm going to do that with some of the black gingham. So since I've got kind of a gingham type pattern or a check pattern, I want to have a similar kind of ribbon, but featuring the black color to bring that black accent out a little bit more. So I'm going to cut a small strip right about here, and then I'm going to position that where I want it and flip it over. And attach it to the back like that. Then I'm going to grab one more little piece and slip it underneath and tie a cute little knot in it. And I want my tail to come this way and this way. So whatever way you want your tail to come, start tying it the opposite way. So if I want my tails to be this way, my flat ribbon's going to be this way. If I want it the opposite way, where the tail sticks this way, then I flip it that way. It's a little ribbon tip. All right. And I'm going to pull tight on that and then trim away the excess. There's one side, and here's the other side. There we go. But I'm not completely done with this yet, and I can trim that a little bit more if it doesn't look even. Once I get my button on, I want to add a button. So that button's going to go right here, and that's going to bring in the red to my focal image. And I'm going to do that with a little bit of baker's twine. You've seen me do this before. I like to have enough so I can cut some of the free edge off as I go if it's hard to feed through the buttons. And so the way I'm going to start is, I'm going to start by feeding the twine through the front of the button on one side and the front of the button on the other side. Oops. Let me get that through. Okay. So now I have the button. I have two sides done for the button. Now I'm going to lay that on top, and I'm going to slip this underneath like that. And then I'm going to feed it through. I'm just going to cut a little free edge here on an angle. I'm going to feed it through the opposite two holes. One going this way. Oops. I think I'm unraveling it instead of raveling it. There we go, one going that way. And the opposite one in that opposite hole. Like that. And then when you pull the whole thing tight, it'll fall into position pretty well. So I'm going to pull that pretty tight there, like that, and then I'm going to tie a knot and pull that knot tight. And then that'll let you position it a little bit better to where you want. And tie a little bow. And then you can adjust the size of your loops down to whatever you want. And once you get used to doing this, you can cut your ribbon or your twine so that you don't have quite so much waste, which I guess I'm not really used to doing it yet because I continue to have a lot of waste, but that's okay. I'd rather be safe than sorry. A little bit of twine is okay to waste once in a while, just a little bit. All right, and there's one side and there's the other side. And then this whole panel will pop onto my red checked panel, and then the whole thing will go on top of my card base. And let me show you my finished card project here that I already have assembled. There it is. You're the sweetest. What a fun, bright and cheerful summer card featuring the new Days of Summer StampTV kit. Try making this card using sweet mango and a darker orange ink pad to make oranges, or try a pale lemon ink pad mixed with a bright dandelion to create the look of lemons. Whatever fruit you decide to rock and roll, the card will surely be sweet.